How does a kid who spends his days digging through other people's garbage, a boy the whole world calls the son of a murderer, a boy so poor and so hated that people throw stones at him, end up as the one person who might be able to burn down a corrupt paradise and change the entire world? And how does a story that opens on a little girl crying over a torn teddy bear turn into one of the most brutal, beautiful, jaw-dropping anime of 2025? A show about trash and rage and the souls that live inside the things we throw away. Well, that's the genius of Gachiakuta. It looks, at first, like a simple story about a slum boy and his stolen junk, and then it drops him into hell, hands him a power no one understands, and asks a question the whole series is really about. What happens to the things, and the people, that a shining, spotless world decides are worthless? That's right, today we're covering the entire story of Gachiakuta from Studio Bones. Every arc, every death, every reveal, across all 24 episodes of its first season. The murder that started it, the pit that should have been the end, the trash monsters, the vital instruments, the found family, and the storm that changes everything. So grab your gloves, hold your nose, and let's get into it. First, let's talk about the world. Because Gachiakuta is built on one of the most striking premises in recent anime, and the whole tragedy only lands if you understand the shape of it. Imagine a city floating above the clouds. It's called the Sphere. It's clean, it's wealthy, it's beautiful in that sterile, blinding, white marble way where nothing is ever dirty and nothing is ever broken. The people who live there are the Spherites, and they have a very simple relationship with their possessions. If something tears, if something breaks, if something is even slightly used up, you throw it away and you buy a new one. That's the opening image of the entire series. A little girl in a spotless white home, crying because her plush toy got torn and her mother barely looks up. Just buy another one. So the girl stops crying, tosses the toy in the trash, and moves on like it never mattered at all. That's the Sphere in a nutshell. A whole civilization that has never once had to ask where the garbage goes. But there's another part of the Sphere. Tucked off to the side, walled away behind a single gate, are the slums. And the people who live there are called the tribesfolk. They're descendants of criminals. Generations ago, their ancestors did something terrible, and in the Sphere, crime is inherited like a stain. So the tribesfolk live in dirt and poverty and shame, right next to a paradise they'll never be allowed into, separated by a gate that might as well be the border between two worlds. One side polished and rich and peaceful, the other side broken and hungry and blamed for everything. And there's a third place, the worst place. In the middle of the Sphere is an enormous hole that drops down endlessly into the dark. It's called the Pit. Some translations call it the Abyss. And it serves two purposes. It's where the Sphere dumps its garbage, and it's where the Sphere dumps its criminals. Commit a serious crime, and you don't go to prison. You get thrown into the pit, in front of a cheering crowd, to fall forever into the dark alongside the trash. To the people of the Sphere, the pit is the same thing as the landfill, because to them, a criminal and a piece of garbage are exactly the same. Something used up, something worthless, something you get rid of and never think about again. Hold that idea. It's the beating black heart of this entire show. Now, our hero. His name is Rudo. He's 15 years old, he lives in the slums, and he is a tribesfolk kid with a very particular habit that makes him a criminal in the eyes of the Sphere. He's a trash raider. At night, he sneaks past the gate and breaks into the Sphere's garbage disposal facilities, and he digs through the mountains of thrown out things, and he takes the ones that still work. Because that's the thing about the Sphere. They throw away perfectly good stuff. Things that just need a little repair. Things that still have, as Rudo would put it, a whole life left ahead of them, and Rudo can't stand watching that. So he fixes them, and he sells them, and it's how he and his guardian scrape by. To the Sphere, he's a thief dodging bullets in the dark. To himself, he's rescuing the things nobody else could be bothered to save. Rudo has terrible hands. They're blackened and raw and scarred, always in pain, the result of something involving his father. We'll get there. And people are disgusted by them, so he wears a pair of old, worn-out gloves that dull the pain a little. His guardian gave him those gloves, and Rudo treasures them more than anything he owns. Remember the gloves. In a show about the souls of objects, No object matters more than these. His guardian is a man named Regto, and Regto is, honestly, one of the warmest characters in the whole series, which, in a show like this, is another way of saying, be afraid. Regto took Rudo in after Rudo was abandoned as a child. He raised him. He's gruff and teasing and endlessly patient, the kind of father figure who covers up how much he cares with jokes. And it was Regto who taught Rudo the single most important idea in the entire show, a piece of old folklore that Regto genuinely believes, that objects have souls, that if you treat something with care for long enough, a spirit will come to inhabit it. When little Rudo asked if his gloves had a soul, Regto told him yes, if you take care of them, one day they will, and Rudo promised he always would. Keep that promise in mind too. The whole series is about to build a superpower out of it. And then there's Chiwa, a girl from the slums, roughly Rudo's age, who is one of the only people who treats him like a human being. Everyone else in the slums keeps their distance from Rudo because of who his father was, but Chiwa defends him, sticks up for him, tells the bullies to knock it off. Rudo has a hopeless little crush on her that he is far too awkward to ever act on. Keep an eye on Chiwa, she matters, not in the way you'd hope, but in the way that hurts. Okay, that's the world and the people. Let's get into the story. The first episode is called The Sphere, and it spends its time doing something clever. It makes you love Rudo's small, hard, ordinary life, right before it takes every piece of it away. We meet Rudo mid-raid, sneaking through a sphere garbage facility, grabbing what he can, getting spotted by a guard who recognizes him instantly, because this isn't the first time, and Rudo the trash raider has a reputation, alarms, guards, gunfire. Rudo bolts, dodging bullets, scrambling into the air ducts, and he takes a graze to the shoulder, but he gets away, clutching his haul.
Open fire!
And among the things he grabbed that night is a slightly damaged plush toy, the very one the little girl threw away in the opening, because Rudo looks at a discarded toy and sees something worth saving. By morning, the whole sphere is buzzing about the break-in, and of course the wealthy immediately blame the tribesfolk, wondering aloud why those slum people can't just stay on their side of the wall. And in the slums, everyone knows it was Rudo, and they're not grateful, they're scared. Because Rudo's raids draw attention, and attention is dangerous for people who are already one accusation away from the pit. We get the texture of Rudo's life here. His friend Chiwa warns him that he's going to get himself in real trouble. A gang of slum kids shows up to mock him. They make fun of his filthy gloves, they kick over his lantern, they sneer that no one will ever buy his garbage. And then they hit the thing that actually gets to him, his father. Because everyone in the slums is a descendant of a criminal, but Rudo's father is special. Rudo's father, they say, went on a killing spree, a serial killer. He ruined the reputation of the entire community, and these kids have spent their lives trying to prove they're better than their bloodline. So they resent Rudo, the son of the worst of them, and they tell him, flatly, that he's going to grow up to be a murderer just like his dad. It's in his blood. Rudo tries to stay calm. Regto taught him to hold his temper, but when they push on his father, his face changes into something dark enough that the kids actually back off, muttering that, see, he really is just like his old man. And Chiwa, bless her, steps in and insists Rudo isn't a bad person, which flusters him completely, because it's Chiwa. He's got the plush toy he repaired, and he means to give it to her. He can't get the words out. And then Chiwa's mother arrives and hauls her home, warning her, like all the slum parents do, to stay away from that boy. So Rudo is left standing there, holding a gift he was too nervous to give.
Don't listen to them, okay?
Yeah.
You're nothing like your dad.
Thanks. And you're...
Look at that puppy! It's so adorable!
He's special. And I thought you...
He goes home to Regto, who immediately clocks that something happened with Chiwa, and teases him mercilessly about being too much of a coward to just say how he feels. It's a lovely, warm little scene, a father ribbing his son about a crush. Then Regto notices the fresh wound on Rudo's arm from the raid, and the mood shifts. He cleans it. He rewraps the bandages on Rudo's ruined hands, and he warns Rudo, seriously this time, to stop the raids. Because if Rudo gets caught, the higher-ups could throw him into the pit. That's where serious criminals go. That's where, Regto reminds him, Rudo's real father was sent. The next day, Regto, still playing matchmaker, convinces Rudo to go find Chiwa and finally give her the toy, even coaching him on how to smile so he doesn't look terrifying. On his way, Rudo passes the pit, where a crowd has gathered to watch yet another public execution, another criminal being thrown into the dark. Rudo wonders, not for the first time, what actually happens to the people who get sent down there. Nobody in the sphere has ever cared enough to ask. He runs into Chiwa. They have an awkward, sweet conversation. She tells him she doesn't want him to ever get thrown into the pit, and then adds that Regto feels the same way, because Regto loves him. They both get flustered realizing what she just said, and Rudo, finally, gives her the plush toy, telling her it'll be happy with her. She promises to treasure it forever, and Rudo runs home, on top of the world, to tell Regto that he did it. And that's when Gachiakuta drops the floor out from under you. Rudo opens his front door and finds Regto lying on the ground, bleeding, a masked figure standing over him with a blade buried in his chest. Rudo throws himself at the killer, but he's completely outmatched. This masked man is on another level entirely. The killer grabs a book and he leaves, calm and unhurried, vanishing the way he came. Rudo rushes to Regto, screaming that he'll get help. And Regto, with the last of his strength, doesn't ask to be saved. He tells Rudo something else. He tells Rudo that he can change their world. And then, Regto dies. And before Rudo can even begin to process it, the Sphere's officers burst in and taser him from behind. They arrest him. Because there's a dead man and a slum boy covered in that man's blood, and to them, the math is obvious. Rudo is the murderer. He begs them to believe him. He tells them there was a masked man, the real killer. But he's a tribesfolk kid, the son of a serial killer, with blood on his clothes. Nobody listens. Nobody ever listens. They take him to the pit. And here is maybe the most gutting beat of the whole opening. Rudo is sentenced to death, to be thrown into the abyss, and the crowd cheers. The executioner declares that a murderer can't be forgiven, even when the victim was just a nobody from the slums. Rudo scans the crowd, desperate, and he sees Chiwa. He calls out to her. He begs her to find the real killer, to believe him. And Chiwa, the one person who always defended him, the girl he just gave a treasured gift, looks at the blood on his clothes, and she believes he did it. She drops the plush toy he gave her, and she turns her back on him. That's the moment something in Rudo breaks. He looks out at this whole crowd of people who have eyes and ears, but refuse to use them to see the truth. And he decides they're all just trash. And he notices, standing among them, watching, the real killer, the masked man. But before Rudo can say a single word, they throw him into the pit. And he falls, screaming that they're all filth, that he'll make every one of them pay. And everything goes black.
You're all better off dead. It's you. Don't you dare think you're rid of me. I'm coming back.
Episode 1. That's how this show introduces itself. It builds you a father, a first love, a whole small life, and then it murders the father, poisons the first love into a betrayal, and hurls the hero into a literal pit of garbage for a crime he didn't commit, all in about 20 minutes. And it does it so that you understand Rudo's rage from the inside. He isn't angry for no reason. He was thrown away. By everyone. Like he was nothing. Like he was trash. Episode 2 is called The Inhabited. And this is where Gachiakuta reveals its actual premise. The thing the sphere never wanted anyone to know. Rudo wakes up. And the first shock is that he's alive at all. He fell into the pit, which everyone treats as a death sentence, and he survived the fall. The second shock is the smell, a foul, choking stench. And the third shock, when his eyes adjust, is that he is surrounded by mountains of garbage stretching in every direction, and looming over him is an enormous monster made entirely of trash, staring right at him. This is the secret. The pit isn't the bottom of anything. There's a whole world down there. The sphere floats above, dropping its garbage and its condemned prisoners into the dark for generations, and all of it lands here, in a place the locals simply call the ground. Everything the sphere throws away ends up on the ground. The trash the sphere doesn't think about builds up into a physical landscape. The ground the survivors literally stand on is made of compacted garbage. And the people of the sphere, in their clean, floating paradise, have no idea that the hell they toss their sins into is an inhabited world. But it's a poisoned world. The air on the ground is toxic in the worst areas. And worse than the air are the monsters. Because here's the mechanism that makes Gachiakuta's whole system work. It's not just garbage that piles up on the ground. Emotion piles up too. All the feeling that people pour into their possessions, and all the resentment and grief and rage, accumulates as a kind of energy called Anima. And when enough Anima soaks into the mountains of discarded junk, the trash comes to life. It rises up as a trash beast, a monster born from garbage and emotion, hostile, dangerous, and immune to ordinary weapons. You can hit a trash beast with a normal blade all day, and it'll just reform. They're drawn to sound, and they will kill you. So Rudo, freshly thrown away by the world, wakes up in a toxic wasteland, being hunted by a monster made of the very trash he spent his life rescuing. The trash beast roars and summons more of its kind, and they close in on him from all sides. He dodges, he trips, he finds a human skull half buried in the garbage. A grim little reminder of everyone else the sphere threw down here to die. The poison air burns his lungs. He starts coughing up blood. He's exhausted and surrounded and losing hope. And then he remembers Regto. He remembers that his father figure was just murdered, and that he swore to make the people responsible pay, and that he can't die here. So he grabs an iron pipe, and he fights. And something extraordinary happens. Cornered, near death, Rudo's hidden power awakens for the first time. The scrap of metal in his hands surges with strange energy, and he destroys the monsters with it. He doesn't understand what he did, but someone else does. Watching all of this from a distance, through a pair of binoculars, is a man. And when he sees Rudo, this half-dead slum kid ignoring the toxic air and fighting trash beasts with a piece of junk that suddenly glowed with power, he gets very interested. This is Engine, and Engine is about to become the most important person in Rudo's new life. Engine steps in and saves Rudo, and the way he does it is our first look at what real power on the ground looks like. He carries an umbrella, and that umbrella is a weapon. He transforms it and tears through the horde of trash beasts like they're nothing, grinding them to pieces. And when the last one spits acid at him, he blocks it and finishes the creature with a technique he calls the Unbreaker Octa Shredder. Then he tosses Rudo a mask so he can actually breathe the poison air, and he tells him, essentially, to shut up and stop asking questions. Rudo, of course, does not shut up. He asks question after question about the pit, and Engine, irritated, dodging trash beasts that keep getting drawn in by Rudo's yelling, finally loses patience and lays out the truth. They are not underground. The pit isn't a cave. The sphere turned this place into a hell by dumping everything down here for generations. The ground is a real place with real people, poisoned by the sphere's garbage. And the man in front of Rudo has a job title. He's a cleaner. Engine takes off his mask to introduce himself, immediately regrets it because the air stings, and blames Rudo for making him do it. It's the first note of what becomes a genuinely funny, genuinely warm mentor relationship. Engine as the exhausted adult, Rudo as the furious kid who won't stop talking. But before Rudo gets to relax into being rescued, the episode reminds him that the ground is not safe. Engine, testing him, leaves Rudo chained up near a run-down establishment, and the group of masked men take an interest in the new arrival. When they realise Rudo is a spherite, someone from the world above, they get excited, because they usually only find spherites as corpses. They're human traffickers, and they hate the sphere with everything they have, because the sphere's garbage is what poisoned their world and created the trash beasts. They chain Rudo to their truck, planning to sell him or torture him, and to add insult to injury, they force him to eat their garbage food. So Rudo, furious, bites one of their fingers clean off, chews it up with the food, and tells them it's perfectly edible.
I go to win! Oh, what the hell?
And in that surge of rage, his power activates again. He grabs the chain binding him, his energy flows into it, and it transforms into a weapon. The traffickers are stunned, because this makes Rudo a giver, and givers are rare. A giver is a person who can channel Anima, that life and emotion energy, into an object to turn it into a vital instrument, a weapon that can actually harm trash beasts, powered by the soul the giver pours into it. The traffickers figure they'll just disarm him. A giver is useless without their object, right? So they knock the chain out of his hands, and Rudo grabs a nearby tire and turns that into a weapon too. And everyone freaks out, because that's not normal. Most givers have one vital instrument, one cherished object they've bonded with over years. Rudo just turned a random chain and a random tire into weapons on the fly. That's when Engine, still watching, gets a big grin on his face, because he's realised what Rudo is. And when Rudo is about to kill the trafficker's leader, Engine steps in and stops him, and the tire in Rudo's hand instantly crumbles into dust, and his nose starts bleeding. Engine explains, "This power takes a toll on the body. You can't just use it endlessly." Engine apologises for the test, and he makes Rudo an offer. He'll answer all of Rudo's questions and teach him about this world, but only if Rudo joins his group, the Cleaners, and helps fight trash beasts. And Rudo, who only cares about one thing, getting back up to the sphere to avenge Regto and punish the people who threw him away, flatly refuses. But he's in no position to refuse. Engine takes him to a clinic to get patched up, pointing out that Rudo would be dead already if Engine hadn't given him that mask. And as Engine explains more about the ground, that emotion accumulates into Anima, that Anima brings the trash to life, that only vital instruments can kill the beasts, he asks about Rudo's gloves. Rudo, guarded, admits his father gave them to him, and they're the only thing he has left to remember him by. And Engine, this gruff stranger, tells him something nobody in the slums ever did. Then you should take good care of them. It lands hard on Rudo, because everyone else mocked those ratty old gloves, and here's a man telling him they're worth cherishing. Engine, called away by a message, leaves Rudo with a small bag of money to survive on, and casually mentions he got the cash by selling Rudo's sphere clothes, which sends Rudo into a fit. But Engine points out that walking around in sphere clothing on the ground would get him killed.
I made a serious killing off of selling your old spherite clothes.
Get back here so I can kick your ass!
So by the end of episode 2, the whole shape of the series has clicked into place. There's a world beneath the world. There are monsters made of trash and emotion. There's a power that turns beloved objects into weapons. And there's a boy who can do it with anything he touches. A boy whose ruined hands and treasured gloves are clearly, obviously, more than they appear. Rudo doesn't want to be a cleaner. He wants revenge. But the road back to the sphere runs straight through this organization, and through learning to control the thing inside him. And that road is about to introduce him to the people who become his family. Episodes 3 and 4, The Ground and Cleaner HQ, are where the show fills out its cast, and where it stops being a two-man survival story and becomes something bigger. This is the part of Gachiakuta that leans into its shonen DNA. A hot-headed kid gets pulled into a colourful organisation full of specialists, and slowly, grudgingly, starts to belong. But even here the show keeps its edge, because everyone Rudo meets carries the weight of this broken world on their backs. We get a proper look at the ground itself. Engine explains that garbage isn't the only thing that builds up here. Emotion builds up too, converting into Anima, which is exactly why trash beasts exist. He walks Rudo through the basics of vital instruments, and drops the detail that matters most for Rudo. When an object is cared for over a long time, Anima naturally comes to inhabit it. His umbrella, Rudo's gloves. These aren't just tools, they're objects that have been loved into power. And the cleaners, Engine says, are always short on givers, because givers are the only ones who can fight the beasts. Before they even reach headquarters, the show gives Rudo his rival/mentor in one of the funniest introductions in the series. Engine steps away to talk to Rudo's future trainer, and a cat snatches the little bag of money Engine gave Rudo. Rudo chases it down and grabs a random stick off the ground to pin the cat, and a young man appears, furious that Rudo is touching his stick. This is Zanka Nijiku, 17 years old, from a noble family and, as the show cheerfully describes him, about as close to a spoiled rich kid as you can get on the ground. That stick is his vital instrument, a staff called the Lovely Assistaff, and Zanka does not appreciate a stranger grabbing it. Rudo tries to defuse it. He apologizes. He even remembers Regto's advice about smiling to seem friendly, and his attempt at a smile comes out so unhinged and creepy that Zanka is convinced Rudo is mocking him and decides to fight for real. It's a great gag that also tells you something real about Rudo. He genuinely doesn't know how to connect with people. Regto was teaching him one lesson at a time, and Regto is gone. Zanka activates his staff, taunts Rudo about how his father clearly never taught him manners, which flips Rudo's rage switch, and the two throw down. And Zanka, who's a genuinely skilled combatant, is stunned to discover that Rudo can turn any object into a vital instrument. That's the thing Engine saw. That's the rare gift. But Zanka warns him that raw talent means nothing against experience, and he starts to win, right up until he pins Rudo to the ground, smells something awful, and realizes to his horror that the object Rudo just grabbed and is swinging at him is a used plunger. Zanka, the proud noble, flees in disgust. Rudo, not understanding why, chases him and manages to cover him in filth. Engine drives up, sees the two of them, and assumes they've already become friends. Zanka is humiliated, and a cheerful girl pops up in the back seat. This is Rio Reaper. Rio is a cleaner on Engine's team, and her whole introduction is her curiosity about Rudo. She immediately starts playing with his hair, checking if it's natural, which throws Rudo completely, because he's never had a girl just casually mess with him. Rio is warm, laid back, and a little bit of a goofball on the surface. Underneath, as we'll learn much later, she's carrying one of the darkest pasts in the whole cast. For now, she's the friendly one, and her vital instrument is a pair of oversized scissors. Engine drives the group to the cleaners' headquarters, a huge, ramshackle building, and Rudo is genuinely impressed by the scale of it. Engine explains the organization. The cleaners are a group of around 100 members, givers and support staff, dedicated to hunting trash beasts and protecting the people of the ground. Engine's own squad is Team Akuta. That's the Akuta in the show's title, a piece of the word Gachiakuta itself. Before anything else, Rudo has to meet the receptionist, because every newcomer does. Her name is Semiu Greer, and Semiu makes an immediate impression by flicking a fork across the room to skewer 2 flies buzzing around Rudo's head without even looking. Her vital instrument is her glasses, which enhance her vision, and when she focuses, she can see a person's true potential. She activates them, looks at Rudo, and goes quiet. Whatever she sees in him, it's not something she's ready to say out loud. She just murmurs that he still needs training. Engine catches it. He can tell she's hiding something. But she deflects, and the moment passes. File that away, because what Semiu sees in Rudo becomes one of the series' most ominous slow-burn threads. Engine takes Rudo to meet the boss of the cleaners, warning him along the way not to demand information the second he walks in, and not to ask about the boss's vital instrument, because the boss keeps it secret, and the members respect him and follow him regardless. They open the door. The room is empty. Semiu forgot to mention that the boss is out on a mission, and won't be back for days. Rudo's whole plan, get info, get back to the sphere, hits an immediate wall. But Rio offers a workaround. Rudo can't officially become a cleaner until the boss approves him, but he can tag along on missions as a trainee, and she'd love to have him, because she wants to figure out what makes him tick. Semiu briefs them on a job. A town near a polluted zone has reported trash beasts, and here Rudo learns the geography of the ground. It's divided into safe zones, where people can live and breathe, and polluted zones, where the air is toxic and trash beasts roam, and masks are mandatory. The area where Rudo first fell, No Man's Land, is one of the most heavily polluted zones there is. 15 minutes there without a mask, and you're dead. It's genuinely lucky Engine found him when he did. Semiu hands Rudo a mask, and the team heads out on his first mission. Rudo meets the rest of the crew, the supporters. Supporters aren't givers, they have no vital instruments and no special powers. But they're trained to assist the givers in battle, and they are absolutely essential. One of them, a big friendly guy named Gris Rubion, shakes Rudo's hand and nearly crushes it, because Gris has incredible physical strength. He can smash through the outer shell of a trash beast with his bare hands. Remember Gris, he's about to become the emotional pivot of Rudo's entire awakening.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
The mission itself starts small. A horde of weak trash beasts rams a barricade, and Rio doesn't even flinch. They can't damage the fence. She stays relaxed, chatting about food, telling Rudo that the key to surviving on the ground is to stay composed no matter what. And that's a real lesson for him, because staying composed is the one thing Rudo cannot do. But then a genuinely large beast smashes through the barricade, and Rio gets serious. She throws her scissors into the air, they become enormous, and she wields them with her feet, slicing through the horde with a fluid, dance-like grace, while the supporters help disable the smaller beasts. Rudo watches everyone use their vital instruments in completely different, personal ways, and starts to understand that there's an art to this. Then it goes wrong in a way that matters. A trash beast the team thought was disabled suddenly reawakens and lunges at one of the supporters. Rudo, desperate not to be dead weight, rushes in and activates his power to save the man. And he almost kills the supporter instead, because his weapon transforms unpredictably and he still has no control over his ability. The beast overpowers him, and it's Rio who comes to his rescue, praising him for being brave even as she cleans up his mistake. Meanwhile, she's noticing something strange about the giant beast. She's cut it several times, targeting what should be its core, and it just won't die. She keeps pushing, and when she finally destroys it, she finds something that shouldn't be there. Inside the trash beast is a vital instrument, a weapon. Nobody has ever seen a trash beast with a vital instrument as its core before. It's a small mystery now. It becomes a very big one later, and it's tied directly to the villains we haven't met yet. Back at headquarters, Rio throws Rudo a welcome party, and Rudo spends it sitting alone, head down, sulking. Because in his mind, he was useless. He couldn't control his power, he almost hurt a supporter, and he had to be saved. He's frustrated and ashamed. And this is where Gris quietly changes something in him. Gris sits down next to Rudo and thanks him, genuinely thanks him, for saving that supporter. Because here's the thing about the cleaners. A lot of givers look down on supporters, treat them as expendable lackeys who don't have real power. But Rudo, a giver, threw himself into danger to protect one. That meant something to Gris. And Gris tells Rudo the thing he needs to hear. Stop obsessing over getting stronger, and stop trying to live up to everyone else's expectations. Figure out what you actually want. Believe in yourself, and work out the rest as you go. It's simple, and it's kind, and it's the first time since Regto died that anyone has looked at Rudo and treated him like he has worth. Rudo tries not to cry. Engine joins them, ribbing Rudo for not eating, and the whole team pulls him into the celebration, and for the first time, Rudo cracks a real smile. That's the quiet engine of these episodes. Rudo arrive on the ground with nothing but rage and a plan for revenge. And piece by piece, a mentor who tells him to cherish his gloves, a rival who's shocked by his gift, a girl who won't leave his hair alone, a supporter who thanks him for caring, the cleaners start doing the thing the whole world above refused to do. They see him. They give him a place. They make him, slowly, part of something. Which is exactly why what happens next is going to hurt so much. Episodes 5 through 7, Raiders, One Good Strike, and A Score to Settle, form the first real arc of the show, and they introduce the antagonists who define the entire series. Up to now, the enemy has been the trash beasts and the cruelty of the sphere. Now Gachiakuta gives us people. And the first person it gives us is one of the most memorable psychos in modern shonen. It starts with a mission that's a trap. Semu takes a request from a merchant who claims a trash beast attacked her in a polluted zone and stole her cargo. And the cargo, shockingly, is a living spherite. Another person who survived the fall. Rudo, who cares about exactly one thing, insists on coming, because a surviving spherite might be a lead on how to get back up to the sphere. Engine is busy with something else, so he puts Zanka in charge of leading the team, which delights Zanka to no end. They head into the polluted zone with a group of supporters, including Gris and a supporter named Folo. Remember Folo, he becomes important. And they meet the merchant, who leads them toward the building where the beast supposedly took her cargo.
Dicey without a weapon.
Nothing special, it didn't cost much.
Is this a good time or am I interrupted? I saw it was in there.
Keep your eyes peeled for anything inside.
Zanka, sharp underneath the spoiled rich kid act, immediately senses that something is off. Trash beasts attack humans on sight. They don't kidnap people and steal cargo. And he's right. The moment the team is inside, the floor collapses, dropping them to a lower level, and the merchant points at Rudo and dissolves into mud. It was never a merchant. These are raiders. The raiders are the show's central antagonist faction, and they're the dark mirror of the cleaners. Where the cleaners are givers who protect the ground, the raiders are givers who prey on it. Gris explains that they started, generations back, as simple bandits, a gang of thieves. But over the years they've evolved into something far more sinister. Every one of them is a giver. And their goal, which the series unspools slowly, is monstrous in scope. They want to collect the most powerful vital instruments in existence, and they want to annihilate the sphere entirely. They're led by a man we'll meet soon, and their whole plan has just found a new obsession: Rudo. 2 raiders come after Rudo in this lower level. Gris orders the supporters to secure an escape route and get help, positions himself and Folo to protect Rudo, and asks Zanka to handle the raiders. Zanka takes them on, a woman who creates mud puppets to swarm him, and her partner who hides among the puppets and strikes from the shadows, using shoes that let him move freely across the mud she generates.
News fest.
Mixed in with the dummies.
It's a clever tag team, and Zanka gets knocked around at first. But he figures out their trick, mocks them as the perfect little couple, and admits something telling. He isn't experienced at fighting people, only trash beasts. But he knows his own vital instrument better than anyone. He slams his staff into the ground, sending out a shockwave that lets him see the entire basement, pinpoints the hidden partner, and takes them both down in short order. Zanka thinks it was too easy. And then Jabberwock arrives, and the temperature of the entire show drops. Jabber is one of the raiders' strongest members, a tall, slim man with long braided hair, strung with golden rings and hot pink eyes, and a smile that tells you everything. Because Jabber is a psychopath, and specifically a masochistic one, he is obsessed with fighting. He lives for strong opponents. When he beats someone worthy, he'll often leave them alive precisely because they're strong, and he despises the weak as trash. And most disturbingly, when he gets brutally beaten himself, it doesn't scare him, it energizes him, it makes him ecstatic. He's a child in a killer's body, bouncing with excitement at the prospect of a good fight. His vital instrument is called Mankira, 10 rings, 5 on each hand, that transform into claws. His right-hand claws carry a potent neurotoxin. His left-hand claws carry other poisons, and he uses them liberally. Jabber appears in front of Rudo and the supporters, recognizes that Rudo matches the description the raiders are hunting, and destroys the exit to trap them.
But if you come...
Gris warns him that Rudo is a cleaner now, so going after him means war, but Jabber does not care about war. He tells Rudo that someone wants to talk to him, and casually mentions that Zanka is still alive, just in serious pain, because Jabber poisoned him. When the supporters rush Jabber, he swats them aside, uninterested in anyone but Rudo, and Gris steps between them. Gris, a supporter with no vital instrument, plants himself in front of Rudo. Rudo tells him to move. Gris can't fight without a weapon, and Jabber tells Rudo, almost gently, that Gris is already dead, and he drives his claws through Gris's chest. This is the moment. As Gris falls, the lucky talisman he always carries, the little charm he prays to before every mission for everyone's safe return, slips from him, and Rudo grabs it before it hits the ground. The show cuts, here, to the memory that explains everything about Rudo's power. We see the day Regto found him, little Rudo slamming his own head against a wall, out of a rage he couldn't even explain. So full of anger, he had no words for it. Regto, unable to understand the cause, decides the problem is that Rudo has never experienced good things. A kid abandoned by his parents, convinced he's worthless. So Regto takes him out to try activity after activity, searching for something Rudo loves. And it's when Rudo spots a wealthy person throwing away a slightly broken object that he bursts into tears, insisting that it still has a whole life ahead of it, that he wants to fix it. That's the moment Regto realizes the truth about Rudo. It's not just projection, not just a broken kid seeing himself in broken things. Rudo can genuinely perceive the true worth of what everyone else has written off. Back in the present, that's exactly what his power turns out to be. Rudo activates Gris's talisman, and it responds. Because Rudo doesn't just turn objects into weapons, he draws out an object's full, true potential. The reason he couldn't control his power before wasn't a lack of talent. It was that his rage and his negative emotions were clouding the one thing that makes his ability work, a genuine connection to what the object means. Now, holding the treasured charm of the man who just took a blade for him, Rudo understands what he wants, and the talisman transforms into a massive, floating totem, radiating power. Gris, barely conscious, realizes what he's seeing. Jabber, instead of panicking, gets more excited, because now he gets to see what Rudo can really do. What follows is the fight that puts Rudo on the map, and it's built around a beautiful idea. The totem doesn't attack, its power is defense. It's Gris's will made solid. The will of a man who prayed over and over for everyone to come home safe. So the totem makes it impossible for Jabber to land a hit on Rudo. Every strike misses. Rudo closes the distance and punches Jabber in the face himself, and Jabber loves it. He realizes the totem detects hostile intent and moves the attacker out of the way, which is why when he shatters a concrete pillar and kicks the debris at Rudo, the chunks slip through, because a piece of rubble has no hostile intent. There's a blind spot. And Jabber, being Jabber, has a horrifying solution. His vital instrument carries a neurotoxin, so he stabs himself with his own claw.
Less wastements. Full unbridled worth.
I can't attack with this talisman.
Cutting off his conscious thoughts, sending his body into a wild, flailing, unpredictable frenzy with his eyes rolled back. And the totem stops reacting because there's no conscious intent to detect. His limp, poisoned body lunges faster than before. Just as Jabber's claws are about to land, Zanka's staff slams into him from out of nowhere. Zanka, pale, poisoned, barely standing, has dragged himself back into the fight, furious that Jabber went after his student before finishing their own duel. And Zanka comes up with the plan that wins the fight. He tells Rudo to let Zanka hit him, because if Zanka swings at Rudo with real intent, the totem will react and fling Zanka toward Jabber, turning him into a guided missile. It's a huge risk. If Zanka is wrong, Rudo gets hit, but it's their only shot. It works perfectly. Every strike Zanka throws at Rudo, the totem redirects into Jabber, smashing him again and again. Between the two of them, they finally beat Jabber down until he can't stand. But the victory has a cost. Gris's talisman crumbles to ash, and the moment it's gone, Rudo collapses, because Jabber managed to catch him with his claws earlier, and the poison is already spreading through his body. Jabber, ever the addict, stabs himself again to dull his own pain, poisons Zanka a second time to keep him down, grabs the incapacitated Rudo, and leaps up through the ceiling to make off with his prize. And then the cavalry arrives. Rio sees them, an engine comes crashing in, smashing Jabber into a wall and freeing Rudo. It turns out the raiders' whole plan was to trap the team in that basement where their communication devices wouldn't work, but the supporters escaped and used a telephone in a nearby town to call headquarters, and backup came. The rest of the cleaners confront Jabber, who's still bouncing with glee, even beaten and bloodied. He wants to keep fighting, but he has his orders, bring Rudo, and he's determined to complete the mission. Before it can escalate, a raider named Chthoni Andor appears behind him, wraps her arms around him, and tells him it's time to leave, because the boss was smiling. That's enough to make Jabber stop. He apologizes, notes it's getting late, and steps toward a manhole to retreat. But before he goes, he notices the pattern on Rudo's gloves, and he wonders aloud whether Rudo got them from a series. He thinks it's a fun coincidence, decides the boss will be very interested to hear about it, and leaves, telling Rudo to take care of those gloves, and that he looks forward to playing with him again. That offhand comment about a series is the first thread of the mystery that swallows the whole back half of the season. The immediate aftermath is where the arc earns its emotion. Rudo is gutted. He couldn't save the man who saved him. He sits alone, an engine joins him and reframes it. Gris understood exactly what he was getting into. He put his life on the line for Rudo because Gris knew, somehow, that Rudo was a good person, worth protecting. Engine tells Rudo to go pay his respects, and they head to the hospital, where Rudo is stunned to find that Gris is alive. He was saved by the cleaner's medical team, and specifically by a young giver named Aisha, who has an extraordinarily rare healing vital instrument. Engine cheerfully teases Rudo for being all mopey, when Gris was fine the whole time. Gris, recovering, tells Rudo to keep going at his own pace. You can't rush your way into becoming stronger, and reassures him that he's glad the talisman was useful in the end, that it fulfilled its purpose. Rudo cries, and Folo, the supporter Gris shielded, is there too, quietly watching, taking in what Rudo did, a moment that plants a seed for Folo's own arc down the line. This is also where the boss finally appears. A man walks in and identifies himself. Corvvis, the leader of the cleaners. And he tells Rudo the truth about his membership. Corvvis had actually planned to reject Rudo, because Rudo was only sticking around to use the cleaners for information, which isn't the spirit of the organisation. But after learning that Rudo risked his life to protect his comrades, and seeing that he has a power that could genuinely help their cause, Corvvis welcomes him in. Rudo is a cleaner now, for real. And Corvvis gives him a lead on the thing he actually wants. Rudo asks about getting back to the sphere, and Corvvis tells him about the border, the boundary between the sphere and the ground, which is said to kill anyone who tries to cross it. But there's a woman who lives near that border, out in no man's land, who once helped a lost traveller, and who claims she's seen people come and go across it without dying. If anyone knows how to get back up, it might be her. It's dangerous. No man's land is the deadliest place on the ground, and the raiders are still out there hunting Rudo. But it's a direction, and it sets the course for the middle stretch of the season. So the first arc leaves Rudo transformed. He's a real cleaner. He's begun to control his power by understanding what it actually is. The ability to see and unlock the true worth of discarded things, powered by genuine connection rather than blind rage. He's got a rival who threw himself back into a fight to save him, a mentor who believes in him, and a supporter who took a blade to the chest and lived. And he's got a mystery attached to his own hands, a series, a pattern on his gloves that a psychotic raider recognized on sight. Rudo doesn't know it yet, but the answer to that mystery is the answer to almost everything: who his father was, why Regto was killed, and what he himself is. Episode 8, Moving Forward, is a breather, the kind of episode a good shonen earns after a brutal arc, where the stakes drop for a bit so the world and the characters can deepen. And Gachiakuta uses it to start seriously unpacking what Rudo's power actually is, and to name the mystery that drives the rest of the season. The cleaner's headquarters gets fleshed out. Ryo gives Rudo a tour, and we learn a great little piece of world building. Sweets are a big deal on the ground. Rudo, who grew up so poor in the slums that candy was strictly a rich person luxury he never got to taste, tries a sweet for the first time and is completely floored by how good it is, to the point that Engine has to warn him not to get addicted, joking that they're more popular than drugs down here. The reason is grim and clever. It's hard to grow crops on the polluted ground, so a group called the Vianders gathered up the givers who specialize in making food, and their goods are precious. It's the kind of detail that makes this world feel lived in. Even dessert is a consequence of the sphere poisoning everything below. But the heart of the episode is the training, where the cleaners work out the rules of Rudo's gift. Zanka, who noticed that Rudo loves to fix and repurpose things people threw away, has a theory. Maybe Rudo's power only works on garbage. They test it, and Rudo turns a piece of scrap metal into a weapon, then 2 more. But then his nose starts bleeding and he collapses. And here the show clarifies the mechanics. Engine explains that the quality of Rudo's gloves is so high that his body can't keep up with what they channel. Because an object's quality, the amount of anima it holds, improves the longer and more deeply it's cared for. But Rudo has a question that turns out to be the key to his whole character. Why did Grease's talisman crumble to dust after he used it, when the scrap weapons he made are still intact? Ryo's answer is one of the most beautiful ideas in the series. His power, she suggests, isn't just to make weapons. It's to bring out an object's full potential so that it can fulfill its true purpose. Grease's talisman existed for one reason: to protect people, to keep everyone safe. And when Rudo channeled it into that defensive totem, and it did exactly that, shielding him, saving lives, it completed its purpose. So it went out. It didn't break. As Engine puts it, Rudo doesn't destroy these discarded objects. He gives them a chance to go out with a bang, to finally be everything they were meant to be. Zanka realizes it fits perfectly. The talisman dissolved the instant Rudo felt safe. Its job done.
Need me to bleed out?
Oh! Seriously?
Think about what that means for a boy who was thrown away as worthless. Rudo's entire power is the act of looking at something the world discarded and revealing that it always had value, always had a purpose, and letting it fulfill that purpose completely. In a show this thematically tight, his ability is the theme. And then the mystery gets its name. Rio recalls that Jabba said something about Rudo's gloves being part of a series, so there must be others like them. She asks Rudo if his vital instruments have a name, because givers name the weapons they use. Meanwhile, far away in No Man's Land, Jabba and Cathoni report to the leader of the raiders about everything that happened, and we get our first glimpse of the man's coat, which bears the exact same pattern as Rudo's gloves. It's a vital instrument from the same set. This is the Watchman series, the original, legendary vital instruments, said to be so powerful that their creators were on a completely different level from ordinary givers. And Rudo's precious gloves, the last gift from his murdered father figure, are one of them. There's a quiet, tender scene tucked into this episode too that pays off later. Rudo struggles to wash his ruined hands. Without the gloves, the pain in them is nearly unbearable. And when he returns to his room, he finds Rio sitting on his bed. Her room is directly below his, and she heard him groaning in pain through the floor, so she came to check on him. He apologizes for disturbing her. She realizes he was hurting while washing his hands, and asks what happened to them. But Rudo deflects, saying only his real parents know the answer. And Rio says something that lands like a stone dropped in still water. Their parents gave them good things and bad things. It's a tiny exchange, but it tells you both of these characters carry inherited wounds, and it's the show quietly promising that Rio's own past is going to matter. The episode closes by pointing the whole story toward its next movement. Rudo is determined to reach the woman near the border, the one who might know how to get back to the sphere. Folo tries to stop him from rushing off alone, but Rudo won't be talked out of it. Engine steps in with the practical reality. Rudo will die if he goes to No Man's Land by himself, because he still doesn't know the limits of his own power, and the raiders are still hunting him. But Engine doesn't refuse him. He agrees to help. The team will make the journey together. First though, they need to prepare, because No Man's Land is the most lethal place on the ground. And that preparation means a detour to one of the most visually gorgeous locations in the entire series. Episode 9, The City of Graffiti, takes the team to Canvas Town, and it's the episode where Gachiakuta shows off both its stunning art direction and its recurring obsession with what it means to inherit something from the dead. Fittingly, given that the manga's own graffiti and logos were designed by a real street artist, this is an arc about art as legacy. Canvas Town is exactly what it sounds like, a city where every wall, every roof, every street is drenched in layers of paint, an explosion of colour and creativity. It's enclosed in a huge dome, which Rudo learns serves a brutal practical purpose. It shields the city from the toxic trash rain that falls from the sphere, and it's protected by something stranger. There's a spell painted on the town by a legendary giver, an artist whose vital instrument is a one-of-a-kind pen that can channel emotion directly into any surface it draws on. One of the spell's effects? Anyone with genuinely bad intentions physically cannot enter the city. We see it demonstrated. Two men stand at an open gate and simply can't pass through, while the cleaners walk in without issue. It's a beautiful expression of the show's worldview, a place built by the discarded and the creative, warded against cruelty by art itself. The team came here to find that legendary artist, a giver named Gob, and to have him paint a protective spell on Rudo before they head into No Man's Land, a spell strong enough to let him survive one otherwise fatal hit. But when they arrive and meet the town's mayor, they get devastating news. Gob died that very morning. He'd developed body pollution, the sickness that comes from prolonged exposure to the ground's toxic air, because he had a habit of painting in polluted zones without wearing his mask, too lost in his art to protect himself. The sphere's garbage killed him, the same way it kills so many on the ground, slowly through the air. The mayor takes the cleaners to pay their respects at Gob's bedside, and it's a genuinely somber moment. Engine remembers Gob fondly dropping by the cleaners' headquarters over the years to paint whatever he wanted on the walls. Here's where the arc's real theme kicks in. Before he died, Gob chose a successor, because his vital instrument, that unique pen, is a rare kind that can be passed down from one giver to the next. And the successor he chose is a young kid named Remlin. The mayor is deeply worried, because Remlin is so young, and being the town's spellcaster comes with enormous pressure. The whole city depends on the person who wields that pen. We first meet Remlin crying beside Gob's body, and it's clear this is a child who just lost a mentor and had the weight of a city dropped on their shoulders in the same morning. It rhymes deliberately with Rudo, another kid who lost the person who taught them everything. But Remlin's response flips the tone in a way that's genuinely moving. Instead of collapsing under the grief, Remlin suddenly stands up and declares that it's time to stop being sad, because Gob wouldn't be happy in the afterlife if everyone spent it crying. Remlin grabs the pen, runs to the rooftop, and instead of mourning, starts to paint with pure joy. The pen transforms, and Remlin uses it to turn cans of spray paint into fireworks that light up the entire sky. And the whole town, watching, gets it. They grab their own paint and start creating alongside Remlin, covering every inch of Canvas Town in new art, celebrating Gob's life the way he'd have wanted, with colour and creation, not tears. The mayor laughs through his grief and tells the cleaners they might have to wait a while for their protective spell. And Engine just says, "That's fine. This is worth it." It's a lovely, generous scene about the right way to carry the dead, not by freezing in your loss, but by making something. When the celebration settles, Remlin, now truly the new giver of Canvas Town, agrees to paint the protective spell on Rudo. And we get some fun character texture. Remlin explains that the spell needs the consent of whoever it's cast on, and that givers often hide little playful meanings and jokes inside their art. When Remlin summons the vital instrument, it appears as a tattoo machine, which surprises everyone, and it turns out Remlin can shape the pen into anything. Remlin paints glowing lines across Rudo's back, granting him protection strong enough to block one fatal hit, and then does the same for all 9 members of the team heading into No Man's Land. It takes a real toll. Drawing on that many people leaves Remlin exhausted, and when the cleaners reach the gate to leave, those same 2 bad-intentioned men are still there, whining that they deserve the pen instead of some kid, that they're the better artists. The mayor shuts them down flat. They can't even enter the city because of their rotten attitudes, and that alone disqualifies them from being called artists, because they only care about fame. It's the show quietly restating its values. Worth isn't about talent or recognition, it's about what's in you. The episode also introduces another key member of the cleaners' support structure, and pays off the preparation thread. On the way, the team stops at a dump site, and Engine lets Rudo pick out whatever junk he wants to use as fuel for his power. To Rudo, a pile of trashed appliances looks like buried treasure, which is the whole point of his character. And they meet August, the cleaner's eccentric artist who makes their masks and gear. August reveals he's finally completed Rudo's full-face mask, and cheerfully admits he got the measurements by sneaking into Rudo's room while he was asleep, earning a horrified look from Rudo and an impressed nod from Rio. August's little sister turns out to be Aisha, the healer who saved Gris's life, which ties the supporting cast together nicely. And finally, there's the choker. As the team prepares to leave, Engine has everyone injure themselves slightly and press a drop of blood onto Rudo's new choker, and vice versa. Rudo's confused until Engine explains. The chokers are communicators, and they only let you talk to people you've exchanged blood with. It's a small piece of tech now, a way for the team to stay in contact, but keep the choker in mind. Much later, in a completely different arc, the choker and the person who makes chokers become the centre of one of the story's biggest conflicts. Gachiakuta is very good at planting things early, so Canvas Town does triple duty. It's a gorgeous showcase of the show's art, it's a meditation on inheritance and grief that mirrors Rudo's own, a kid losing a mentor and choosing to honor them by creating rather than crumbling. And it's the final gearing up before the team plunges into the deadliest place on the ground, chasing the one lead that might send Rudo home. Which is where the season takes its darkest, saddest turn, and where the mystery of the Watchman series and of Regto's killer finally starts to come into focus. Penta, the desert no man's land, Amo's hospitality, something like a curse, and an empty gaze make up the arc that closes out the first half of the season. And it's the saddest, most thematically rich stretch of the whole show. It introduces a character whose backstory rivals Rudo's own for sheer cruelty. It deepens the mystery of the Watchman series. It ties that mystery directly to Regto's murder. And it plants a seed of dread about Rudo himself that shadows everything after. This is where Gachiakuta stops being a fun shonen adventure for a while and looks straight into the abyss. The team ventures into no man's land, the deadliest, most polluted region of the ground, the same wasteland where Rudo first fell. They pass through a desert called Penta, and the show gives you a haunting detail. The sand of Penta isn't sand at all. It's dust made from eroded garbage. Everything down here, even the ground beneath your feet, even the deserts, is the sphere's refuse worn down over ages. Scorpion-like trash beasts attack, and the team fights through them. Rio with her scissors, Zanka with his staff, Engine dropping from the sky to shatter the ground beneath the horde, and Rudo taking one down himself with an old keyboard he turns into a weapon. It's a strong showcase of how far Rudo has come as a fighter. And then they meet her. A girl approaches through the toxic haze, calm, wearing no mask, softly asking if they've come to visit. The whole team is unnerved, because none of them sensed her coming. This is Amo Empool, and Amo is the woman Corvvis told them about, the one who lives near the border and claims to have seen people cross between the sphere and the ground. When Rio asks her directly whether she's seen travellers moving between the two worlds, Amo confirms it. She invites them back to her home, a tall tower that somehow still stands in the middle of the wasteland, stretching up toward the clouds. Rio finds her deeply suspicious, but Engine figures he can handle her if things go bad. And the show flashes forward, ominously, to Engine collapsed on the floor, foaming at the mouth, while Amo watches with a faint smile. Something is very wrong with this girl. Inside the tower, Amo's living space is a room filled with stuffed toys and little ghost decorations, cute and unsettling in equal measure. She asks everyone to remove their masks so they can talk properly, and she's delighted to see their faces, because she says she doesn't get many visitors. Rudo cuts to the chase and asks about the people who travel between the worlds, and Amo dodges the question entirely, and instead asks him what kind of women he likes. It's a jarring non sequitur, and it keeps happening. She keeps steering every conversation back to romance, to who likes whom, to being liked. Engine, impatient, asks if all this love talk is just her way of charging for information, and that's when Amo snaps. Because Amo, it turns out, is deeply, tragically unstable, and her vital instrument is her boots, which carry the same Watchman series pattern as Rudo's gloves and the Raider leader's coat. Her power works through scent. She can recreate the smell of a moment and make people breathe it in, triggering the memories tied to it. And specifically, she's brilliant at making people smell something that fills them with love for someone they care about. When she uses it, the person doesn't see Amo, they see whoever they love most, and they'll do anything to protect her. She turns it on the team. A cleaner named Delman suddenly attacks his own comrades, insisting he has to protect her, because in his mind, Amo is the love of his life come back to him. One by one, the team starts to fall under it. Rudo hallucinates Chiwa. Zanka and a level-headed cleaner named Tamsi manage to get their masks back on before the scent takes them, which is the only thing that saves them from turning on their friends. But Rudo, even knowing Chiwa betrayed him, even knowing better, finds his body moving on its own to protect Amo, because the emotion the scent triggers is stronger than reason. Rio, Follow, Delman, all of them believe they're defending someone dear to them. It falls to Tamsi to stop the whole team without hurting them. His vital instrument is a distaff, a tool for spinning thread, called Tokushin, and it lets him generate ropes from thin air. He binds the entire brainwashed team, wrapping them tight enough that they can't hurt themselves or each other, even as the illusion makes them struggle against the ropes. The ropes only cinch tighter the more they resist, and when it's too much, Tamsi makes a hard call. He spins the ropes violently enough to smash through the tower floor and drop everyone to the ground below. It's a brutal solution. Rudo gets impaled on rebar, Delman is buried in rubble, and for a second it looks like Tamsi just killed his own teammates. But then the wounds start to glow and heal. Remlin's protective spell, that's what it was for. The single fatal hit each of them could survive. This is where it pays off, and it saves the whole team. And the reveal of how they turn the tables is pure engine. He calls down from above, completely fine. The protective spell saved him too, and reveals he was faking unconsciousness the entire time, waiting for the right moment. He's already stolen one of Amo's boots while she was distracted. Once a Watchman series wielder is separated from their instrument, their power fades. So with only one boot, Amo can't maintain the scent illusion. The spell breaks. Delman and the others come back to themselves, and the heartbreak hits them all over again, because the loved ones they thought had returned to them were never real. Now here's the turn that makes this arc unforgettable. Once the fight is over, Rudo removes his mask and walks up to Amo, and everyone assumes he's approaching peacefully. Instead, he starts beating her. He punches her again and again and won't stop until Engine physically pulls him off. Grease scolds him. She's a girl, she's beaten, that's enough. But Rudo, cold, says it doesn't matter, that she tried to kill them and she deserved it. And this is the moment the show has been quietly building towards since episode 1, because Rudo very nearly beats Amo to death. His wrath and impulsivity, the rage he was born into, the rage everyone in the slums warned would make him a monster like his father, almost carries him across a line he can't come back from. Engine and Grease stopping him is the only thing that keeps him from it. It's the closest Rudo comes to becoming the very thing the Sphere condemned him as. And crucially, Rudo knows it. He's ashamed. He admits he was taught to hold his temper back in the slums, but that when the world threw him into the ground, he learned that holding it in gets you killed, and now he's terrified that he's slid right back into his old self, the kid who just hits everything around him because he can't control the darkness inside. He thinks he hasn't changed at all. Engine, in his gruff way, tells him that even adults have flaws they're still growing out of, and that the fact Rudo is aware of his problem means he'll improve. But the fear is planted now, in Rudo and in us. And then, gently, the show gives Amo her backstory, and it's one of the cruelest in the series. As a supporter named Tommy tends to her wounds and talks to her kindly, Amo starts to remember. Her mother, years ago, walked her through the streets promising she was about to meet a man who would love her forever. Amo, trusting, ran to him, and her mother took a bag of money in exchange and walked away. Amo was sold. The man, whom she only ever calls Mr., was a human trafficker, disliked even by others in his trade because he was so creepy. He took her to the tower, gave her food and clothes, and told her no one would ever come between them again. He pressured her into rituals that made her feel wrong, insisting that what they had was love, even as she said it hurt. She grew up trapped in that tower with him, and one day, 2 masked strangers broke in. Mr. tried to fight them off, and the smaller one knocked him out with ease. The taller figure took Mr.'s boots and handed them to Amo, telling her they'd suit her better, and then spread glowing wings from their back and flew away through a hole in the wall. To Amo, they looked like angels. When Mr. woke and demanded the boots back and beat her for refusing, the boots activated in her hands, filling the hole in her heart, giving her the will to fight, and she pushed him out through the hole in the tower wall to his death. And after that, Amo lived alone in the tower, wielding a power she barely understood, desperate to be loved, watching the sky for the angels to return, waiting for anyone at all to come visit her. That's why she kept steering every conversation to who loves whom. That's why she used her power to make people adore her. She was a girl who was sold for money and locked away, who never once in her life had someone touch her with warmth. She just wanted someone to love her. And this backstory carries the arc's biggest plot bombshell. Amo scratches a drawing of the angel who gave her the boots onto the floor. and Rudo recognizes the mask. It's the same mask worn by the figure who murdered Regto. The killer Rudo has been hunting since episode 1, which means Regto's killer is one of these angels. Mysterious winged figures who can cross the border between the sphere and the ground, and who move Watchman series' vital instruments around. The killer is on the ground. Rudo's revenge and his new life on the ground are the same story after all. And Amo, looking at Rudo's gloves, understands something the others don't. She asks if his gloves fill the hole in his chest the way her boots fill hers. Because the Watchman series instruments, she says, suit people with a big emptiness in their hearts. She felt human for the first time when she got her boots, and they helped her understand her own situation. 2 damaged children, each handed a piece of the same legendary set, each using it to fill a void the world carved into them. It's here that Rudo does the thing that separates him from his rage. Amo, crying, says she just wanted to be loved, and that the world never changes. Everyone only ever uses their hands to hit each other. And Rudo, the boy who was just beating her half to death moments ago, crouches down, holds out his hand, and tells her that people also need to reach their hands out to each other, because that's how connections are formed. He admits he doesn't actually know how to do it, but he wants to learn with her. And Amo, for the first time, smiles. It's the show's whole thesis in one gesture. Hands can hit, or hands can reach. Rudo, who was thrown away, chooses to reach. But the arc ends on a note of pure dread, and it's why the first core closes the way it does. 2 things happen. First, back at headquarters, Corvvis asks Semu what she saw in Rudo when she first looked at his potential, the thing she wouldn't say out loud back in episode 4. And she finally tells him. She saw something she'd never seen before, a curse growing inside Rudo, something that could end up destroying the entire world. That's the ominous read on our hero. The boy with the power to reveal the hidden worth in discarded things may also be carrying something monstrous. And second, after the cleaners leave, Amo asking hopefully if they'll come visit again, wishing they could have a sleepover next time, a figure appears behind her and she screams as she's taken away. It's Jabba. He walks out of the tower with Amo's boots, having gotten exactly what the raiders sent him for, another piece of the Watchman series. So the midpoint of Gachiakuta leaves you reeling. Rudo has found something like grace, the ability to reach out instead of lash out. But the show has also told you there's a curse in him that could doom the world, and it's handed the villains another Watchman weapon by kidnapping the saddest girl in the story, right after she finally felt a spark of hope. The mystery of the Angels, the Killer, and the Watchman series is now the engine of everything. And the second half of the season, the Trash Storm arc, is about to raise the stakes from personal to apocalyptic. Episodes 14 through 24 are the Trash Storm arc, the entire second half of the season, and the storyline that Season 1 was built to climax on. This is where Gachiakuta goes from a series about a boy learning to survive to a series about a war for the fate of 2 worlds. It's where we finally meet the mastermind behind the Raiders, where the show's biggest fighters get their defining backstories, where the mystery of the Watchman series pays off in a reveal about Rudo's own blood, and where the whole thing ends on a cliffhanger built to launch a second season. Buckle up, because a lot happens. It opens, appropriately, with the calm before the storm. Episode 14 is literally called The Storm Before the Storm. The cleaners have been run ragged, and the show gives them a moment to breathe, but it also starts tightening the screws. Their headquarters comes under attack by marauders, a band of heavily armed thugs who fire a rocket at the building and demand the cleaners hand over Rudo, promising to leave them alone if they cooperate. It's a distraction, a probe to test the base's defenses, while another group tries to sneak in. And it gives us a spectacular showcase for Semu, the receptionist everyone underestimates. She steps outside to face them herself, and when they fire a rocket at her, she activates her vital instrument, those glasses, in a way we haven't seen. Time slows down from her perspective. She catches the rocket, spins, and hurls it back at them. She dodges a hail of bullets with perfect timing and drops the whole crew with precise strikes. Engine isn't even surprised. And the cleaners are left with an unsettling question. How did these marauders find out there's a spherite hiding in their base? Someone is leaking information. Someone who knows about Rudo. The cleaners head to a cozy bar restaurant to unwind, and we meet more of the organization. Including Team Child, another of the cleaner squads, made up of a little girl named Guita, who bounces around in a kaiju costume, a boy named Deer, and their adult supervisor. The show is stocking the board with pieces for the big battle to come, and then a hooded stranger sits down across from Rudo, casually holding Amo's boots, and grabs him by the throat. He introduces himself as the leader of the raiders. This is Zodil Typhon, and in an instant, Cathoni Andor opens a portal, and the entire group of cleaners is sucked into darkness. Zodil Typhon is the mind behind everything, the secondary antagonist of the series and the leader of the raiders. He's a tall, powerful, deeply intelligent strategist, and unlike Jabber, he's calm and calculating, and always 3 moves ahead. His vital instrument is his long coat called Mishra, another piece of the Watchman series, marked with that same logo on the back. It lets him sprout wings to fly and generate spiked appendages, and its full power is still a mystery. He has 2 goals: locate the remaining Watchman series instruments and destroy the sphere. And he separated the cleaners on purpose, scattering them so his subordinates could pick them off one by one, and so that he could get Rudo alone. Episodes 15 and 16, Clash and Gifted and Not, kick off the running battle and reveal the horrifying truth of where they all are. The cleaners find themselves in a dark, cavernous chamber, and the raiders emerge to fight them. A trash slide sweeps everyone apart, portals scatter them, and the one-on-one duels begin. Zodil keeps Rudo with him and lets him go for a moment, telling him it doesn't matter where his friends went. And Zodil starts working on Rudo the way he works on everyone, with words. He tells Rudo they're the same, that he can sense the same rage in Rudo's eyes, and he asks the question designed to crack him open. Why did Rudo join the cleaners, when their only job is killing trash beasts, when that will never get him back to the sphere, or avenge Regto? Zodil offers Rudo an alternative: join the raiders, and Zodil will take him to the sphere, so he can burn down the world that threw him away. Meanwhile, the fights unfold, and each one is a character study. Episode 16 gives us Baru and Deer of Team Child against a raider named Bundus, and Bundus is fascinating because he doesn't really want to fight. His vital instrument creates walking, disembodied fingers, but his real weapon is questions. He bombards Baru with the most mundane possible questions about the cleaner's boss, Corvvis, his favourite food, his habits, not to gather tactical intelligence, but seemingly out of pure curiosity, to understand people. In exchange for answers, Bundus drops a genuine bombshell. The raiders have learned to cultivate trash beasts. They can grow them deliberately, and he reveals the plan. They intend to feed the cleaners to a trash beast, and Deer, whose vital instrument lets him drain power from whatever he strikes, growing stronger with every blow, starts punching through the wall of the chamber they're trapped in. Which is when the truth lands. They're not in a cave. They are inside a trash beast, an enormous one. The whole cavern is the interior of a colossal monster. But the emotional peaks of this stretch belong to 2 fighters, and they get the season's best backstory episodes. Episode 17, Memories of a Mediocrity, is Zanka's, and it recontextualizes everything about him. Zanka squares off against Jabber in a rematch, and Jabber, ecstatic to fight a worthy opponent again, unleashes the full released form of his vital instrument, Mankira, striking Zanka with 3 different toxins at once and breaking his ribs. As the poison drags Zanka into hallucination, we finally learn who he is. Zanka comes from the noble Nijiku family, a lineage that has produced elite warriors for the Hellguard, the organization that hunts down criminal givers. His father pushed him to follow in their footsteps, and Zanka enrolled in the Hellguard's academy. And here's the twist that defines him. Everyone believed Zanka was a natural genius, the top student, effortlessly gifted. But the truth was that Zanka worked himself to the bone in secret to stay on top, terrified of being ordinary. Then a girl named Ho joined the class, a girl from the slums with genuinely effortless, God-given talent, who defeated Zanka in their first sparring match and was immediately marked as a candidate for the Golden Throne, the Academy's highest honor. Zanka, humiliated, told everyone he'd just train harder to catch up, while privately spiraling because he'd already been giving his all, and it wasn't enough. He came to despise his classmates for worshipping raw talent, and then despised himself even more because he realized he was the worst of them. He'd believed his own hype, believed he was better than everyone, when really he was a hard-working mediocrity.
The defining moment of Zanka's past is the stick. In a class where students chose their own weapons, everyone else picked things that looked powerful and effective. Zanka chose a plain staff, convinced it had some hidden power, and it turned out to be a random stick that had gotten mixed in with the real weapons. Everyone stared. He was mortified. He crawled into a well and stayed there for 3 days, wanting to die, feeling as worthless and unremarkable as the dumb stick he'd chosen. And it was Engine, years ago before the series, who found him down that well and gave him a reason to climb out. Engine asked whether a mediocrity could beat natural talent, and pointed out that Zanka was still clutching that stick, refusing to let it go even knowing it was nothing special. Engine left, saying he wanted to see if Zanka could one day defeat more gifted fighters. And that stick became the lovely assist staff, Zanka's vital instrument, the plain object he poured himself into until it became powerful, exactly like Zanka himself. That's why Zanka's whole ethos is, don't underestimate the average Joe. He is the ordinary person who refuses to be beaten by the gifted, the proof that effort can matter as much as talent. Even poisoned and hallucinating, he drags himself up to keep fighting Jabber, needing to prove that a mediocrity like him can beat a monster like that. And the two of them end up laughing together in the middle of the carnage. Two obsessives who found the fight of their lives. Episode 18, oh zap, totes legit, is Ryo's showcase, and it finally cracks open the darkness under her sunny exterior. Ryo faces off against a raider named Nerd, whose vital instrument is a comb called Mirai that charges with static electricity as she straightens her hair, letting her deliver powerful electric shocks, though it needs time to charge. Their fight is a brilliant tactical duel. Ryo tries to slice Nerd's hair without cutting her skin, because she doesn't want blood on her scissors, and Nerd reveals she comes from a warrior tribe that was wiped out, fighting with trained, disciplined skill. But the real revelation is about Ryo. When it comes down to the wire, Ryo pulls out a pistol and shoots Nerd, and explains why she has an ordinary gun at all. Ryo used to be a hitman, an assassin, before Engine told her to stop killing. Her scissors are her cherished vital instrument, which is exactly why she refuses to stain them with blood. She keeps a separate, mundane gun from her old life for when she has no choice. It's a stunning bit of characterization. The bubbly girl who plays with Rudo's hair carries the weight of a killer's past, and a mentor who pulled her out of it, the same way Engine pulled Zanka out of that well, the same way Engine pulled Rudo off of ammo. Engine, it turns out, is the man who gathers broken people and gives them a place. The whole team is people he saved.
And then, episode 19, Watchman series, delivers the reveal the entire season has been building toward, and it's about Rudo himself. In the depths of the giant trash beast, Zodil lays out the truth of the Watchman series, and in doing so, uncovers who Rudo really is. Zodil reveals that Ammo's boots, his own coat, and Rudo's gloves are all entries in the Watchman series, the original, supreme, vital instruments, whose creators operated on a level no ordinary giver could touch. He's been trying and failing to artificially create a new Watchman entry, and in the attempt, he discovered that vital instruments can be used to grow trash beasts, which is where the colossal monster they're standing inside came from. It's his failed experiment, evolved by feeding it other vital instruments. And Zodil notes something that unsettles even him. The Watchman entries are so powerful that they drive ordinary people insane. Yet Rudo wields his gloves and keeps his sanity. So does Zodil. And Zodil's theory is chilling. They can both handle these instruments precisely because they've each lost some crucial part of their humanity. That's the curse Semu saw. That's the emptiness Ammo recognized. The very thing that lets Rudo do what he does may be a hole where his humanity should be. The full lineage reveal is the payoff. Rudo's name is Rudo Surreck, and his family traces back to a figure named Kenneth Surreck, known as the Undertaker, one of the original wielders of the Watchman series, tied to the very first of those legendary givers. Somewhere in Rudo's blood is a person who could cross the border between the worlds. That's how a spherite ended up with a Watchman instrument. That's why his father, Alto Surreck, the man branded a serial killer, thrown into the pit, had these gloves to pass down through Regto. Rudo isn't just a lucky kid with a rare power. He's the heir of one of the founders of this entire system, and collecting the full Watchman series might be exactly what lets him cross the border and reach the sphere without dying. His revenge, his heritage, and the villain's apocalyptic plan are all the same thread. And Rudo, in the middle of all this, does the most important thing in the arc. He names his gloves. He calls them 3R, after reduce, reuse, recycle, a phrase Corvvis taught him about using things efficiently to make less waste. It's the perfect name for the weapon of a boy whose whole purpose is finding worth in what's discarded. And it's the moment Rudo fully claims his power as his own, on his own terms, defined by his own values, rather than the legacy or the curse attached to it. The final stretch. Episodes 20 through 24. Ensign. Time Attack. The Power of Protection. The Man Who Will Be Stronger. And the finale, Field Trip, turns the running battle inside the trash beast into a race against the apocalypse, and ends the season on the edge of a cliff. A new player shakes things up, a raider named Fu, who is one of the season's best comic tragic wildcards. Fu has essentially been abandoned by the raiders, and he's decided, with desperate sincerity, that what he really wants is to become Engine's minion. He keeps throwing himself at Engine, begging to be hit, begging to be given orders, because Fu is a follower who needs someone to serve. Engine, uninterested in fighting him, keeps brushing him off, at one point pointing his umbrella at Fu, only to ignore him entirely and walk off to look for his teammates, which nearly breaks Fu's brain. But Fu ends up genuinely useful, because he's the one who confirms the crucial fact and helps them navigate it. They're inside a trash beast, and if they want out, they'll have to break through it. He also has a second personality, a cursed doll persona that takes over and turns him into a terrifying fighter. When the chaos peaks, Fu punches through the roof of a vehicle, declares it's his turn, transforms, and hits like a wrecking ball. Because yes, there's a car chase inside a giant monster. Baru, Deer and Bundus end up in a vehicle careening through the interior as the whole trash beast begins to move, dodging debris, nearly dying, using their vital instruments to steer and shield the car. Thoni's portals summon waves of smaller trash beasts into the fray. Geeta, wandering off on her own the whole time, stumbles onto something ominous at the heart of the beast. A massive glowing core with severed hands and weapons embedded in it. The grotesque centre of Zodil's grown monster. The show keeps escalating the scale until the setting itself becomes the threat. And the threat, it turns out, is cosmic. Episodes 21 and 22 crank the urgency, because Zodil reveals his actual plan, and it's audacious. A trash storm. A catastrophic weather event where the sphere dumps trash unpredictably, comes to the ground only once every 6 years. And it's happening today. Zodil has deliberately shaped this colossal trash beast, adjusted its very posture so that it can catch the winds of the trash storm and ride them up. He's going to fly the monster across the border, the boundary that kills anyone who tries to cross it, and use it to breach the sphere itself. Everyone trapped inside, cleaners and raiders alike, is aboard a living missile aimed at the world above. Which means the fights stop being about winning and start being about escaping before the beast crosses the border and everyone dies in the attempt. It's a genuine time attack, the episode title made literal. Get out, break through the shell of a flying monster before it's too late. This is also where the arc's protection theme comes home, in the aptly named The Power of Protection, because the way anyone survives this is by shielding each other. Beru grabs hold of Deer and swears they'll make it out alive, throwing himself over the kid as the beast tilts and everyone starts falling. The team's whole ethos, the thing that separates the cleaners from the raiders, is that they protect. Gris took a blade for Rudo. Tamsi bound the team to keep them from killing each other. Remlin's spell shielded them from a fatal fall. Rio saved Rudo again and again. The cleaners win, when they win, not because they're stronger, but because they refuse to abandon each other, and this arc keeps proving it under the worst possible conditions. Zanka's storyline resolves in the man who will be stronger, and it lands his whole arc. His brutal, mutually obsessed duel with Jabba reaches its end, and even beaten, even having survived Jabba's poisons, Zanka's takeaway isn't triumph. It's that he still wasn't good enough, that the enemies toyed with him, and that the only answer is to get stronger. He refuses pity, refuses excuses, refuses to lean on any safety net. He simply resolves to keep climbing, the way he climbed out of that well years ago. Jabba, for his part, gets retrieved once again by Thoni when the boss calls, the Raider's loyalty to Zodil running so deep that even a battle-drunk psychopath like Jabba stops the instant he's told to. Zanka is the beating heart of the show's ordinary effort versus born talent theme, and this arc is where he fully becomes it. The man who will be stronger, not because he's gifted, but because he decides to be. And then the finale, Field Trip, brings it all to the point everything's been building toward. A final confrontation between Rudo and Zodil on the edge of the flying monster, with the sphere itself looming closer. Zodil makes his final pitch. He tells Rudo to cut away everything unnecessary to achieve his goal, to shed the cleaners, embrace his rage, join the raiders, and take his revenge on the world that discarded him. And on paper it's tempting, because Zodil can actually deliver the one thing Rudo has wanted since episode 1, a way back to the sphere. Two men who both lost part of their humanity, both wield the Watchman series, both burn with hatred for the world above. Zodil is offering Rudo a mirror and asking him to step into it. And Rudo refuses, because he's not the same boy who fell into the pit. He tells Zodil the truth about what's changed. He still hasn't forgotten the people who ruined his life, and he never will. But he's found something Zodil doesn't have. He has a team that accepted him when he was nothing but a furious, grieving kid. A team that knew he was a spherite and gave him a home anyway. He throws the name of his gloves back in Zodil's face.
俺はちゃんと絵を描いたことがない。だから
3R. Reduce, reuse, recycle. The philosophy of a boy who finds worth in what everyone else throws away. And he tells Zodil that meeting him wasn't a waste either, because it made Rudo realize exactly what he has that Zodil lacks. And then, rejecting the offer completely, Rudo lets go of the ledge rather than take Zodil's hand. Zodil dives and grabs him, snarling that he'll make Rudo regret this, telling him he's all alone.
And that's the perfect cue for the last beat of the season. Because Rudo isn't alone. Engine bursts up through the trash and delivers the line that ends Season 1. The cavalry has arrived. The cleaners have come for their own. And there, mid-crisis, with a trash storm raging and a monster climbing toward the sphere, and the leader of the raiders bearing down on Rudo, the first season cuts to black, launching straight into the second season that was announced the very same day the finale aired. It's a phenomenal note to end on, because it crystallizes the whole show. Zodil told Rudo to become stronger by cutting people away, by leaning into the emptiness and the rage. And Rudo's answer, the answer the entire series argues for, is the exact opposite. His strength doesn't come from the hole in his heart. It comes from the people who filled it. He was thrown away as worthless, and he found a family that saw his worth. And that family showing up to catch him is the thesis of Gachiakuta stated out loud. Beyond the anime, where the story goes next. Season 1 ends on that cliffhanger, but the story is far from over. The anime adapted roughly the first third of Kei Urana's manga. A second season was announced the very same day the finale aired, and the show swept its awards, taking Best New Series, Best Character Design, and Best Background Art. So if you want to know where Rudo's journey heads after the trash storm, here's the road ahead. The arcs that continue the manga past where the anime stopped. Fair warning, this is where some of the biggest secrets in the whole series come out.
あのマークがこんなところに。犯人シリーズの俺のグローブと同じマークが。